Okay, I'm going to do something I've never quite done before. I'm going to share my story about how I was healed of a heart condition. I had a very, very serious heart condition, and it was an excessive afibrillation where my heart was beating like off. It was like a car running on two cylinders. So it was very, very serious. It wasn't in the beginning, but as time went by, it got to a point where I was fainting, and I didn't have strength to run up and down my stairs, and sometimes my heart would just race to the point where I was scared, and I thought, oh, maybe this is it. But I'm going to share from my heart. I don't have a lot of experience, so we're just going to shoot this with no interruptions. It's going to be straight through, and I'm going to share from my heart about how I got a miracle, the biggest miracle of my life. And I was just kind of going on, like typical life. And all of a sudden I started getting these heart problems. And it got worse and worse. And I went to the doctor, and it was afibrillation. That's what the doctor said. And they said that I could get surgery, like ablation. But I found out that damages, in most cases, it always mainly damages your muscles in your heart. So I didn't do that. I decided not to. But my condition got worse over a period of several years. And it got to a point where it was really scary. It felt like there was a gun pointed to my head, because they say that your chances of stroke, if you have this AFib, is 5 times greater. So my dad had already had a stroke, and my brother was already having a heart complication as well. So my situation, for those that knew me and that were my dance partners and stuff like that, they knew that I was slowing down and getting to a point where I couldn't do a lot of the same dances and stuff like that. I wasn't able to do the Viennese waltz. I wasn't able to do my lifts, because when I did some of my lifts, I would feel like I was going to collapse. It was really scary. I always remember when I felt like I was going to collapse at Calvary in Los Gatos. And I was walking around. I would walk around like this to try to just stop myself from collapsing. And it was getting really scarier as time went by, and I couldn't jog. When I jogged, I could only just barely jog. If I jogged much more than just barely kind of hopping, I would feel dizzy, like I was going to faint. And I always remember this bridge over here by where I live, over the freeway. I had to grab the rails lots of times, where I thought to myself, I don't even know if I could walk over the bridge. So it got really scary. And I said to myself, as I went to the doctor and stayed at a couple different hospitals, 2 of which I left because the doctors were not able to help me. They weren't able to do anything. And I'm not going to mention the name of the hospital because I don't want to get involved in that. And then one of my dance partners was a doctor from Stanford, and still is. And she told me, look, you need to just go and get the surgery. Just let's get you on the drugs at least, because you need to get on the Coumadin to make your blood thinner, so that your blood won't clot and you won't die and have a heart attack on the dance floor or something like that. So I just kept saying, I remember my past, and having faith in my relationship and going to church with God and so forth. But I said, I'm waiting for a miracle. But my condition, it got worse and worse. And those that were my dance partners, that I'm not going to mention who and mention names, know that my condition was getting worse. And they kept telling me to get the operation or get on the drug. And instead, what I did is I knew that if there is a God, that he's an intelligent being. And I know that as a contractor myself, that if there is a God, and I believe there is, that he's naturally done something like blueprints and put it together in a book. And it would explain how to get a miracle, or how I could get something in my life and get free from this prison that I was in for like 4 years. It was horrible. I can't forget. I can never forget those years. Those years will always be stuck in my mind. And the day when I did get free, it's been a little over a year, and I still feel like I won the lotto, like I got the greatest thing that ever happened to anyone, because it happened to me instantly. Because what I did is I went to the blueprints. I'm a contractor myself, and I see the Bible is blueprints. And these are actually blueprints from a project that I looked at a while back ago. And inside here, you can see a 3D of the property. You can see the top, the left and the right sides, and it's detailed for a reason. So that when you build these places, it's very detailed on all the measurements and so forth, even the foundation and the footing and so forth. But I saw the Bible like blueprints, and I said, you know what? I believe the answer's in here. So I took this and I read this like blueprints, and I started studying because there's different stories of different miracles in here, and each one of the stories explains how that person got the miracle, how they built that foundation, and they were able to get the miracle healing results. So actually I went to a story in Mark 5, and it's a story about a woman who like me, had gone to many doctors and had suffered a great deal from these doctors. And this woman was really sad. It really kind of touched my heart because I could really relate to this woman. She wasn't getting better. She was getting worse. And like me, I went to these two different hospitals in the area. One hospital I left. There was a little bit of drama, so I'm not going to go into that story, but I was getting worse, and I even told them, you know what, if you don't help me, I'm going to go down to the grocery store and get something, of this, because I was experiencing a little more pain. I'm not going to go into exactly what specifically. And they said, no, sir, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. But this woman got tired of these doctors just sucking the life out of her. That's a strong way of putting it, but it says that she got worse. And it says that she spent all of her money, everything, on these doctor treatments. And in 12 years, I suffered 4 years of hell that I'll never forget. I'm sorry, I can't forget that. And but this woman suffered 12 years. I can't imagine 12 years she had this blood condition, and she was getting worse and worse, and the doctors weren't able to do it. So she decided, I need a miracle, and she had hope. She heard that there was a miracle worker, and it happened to be Jesus, and he was in town. And she said, that she said, if I can just go there, I know I'm going to get my miracle. So when I read this story, when I studied it in detail, like blueprints, like when you're building a house, you better stick to those plans. You better follow those details. And if I have one of my workers and it comes along and says, well, hey, you know what? All blueprints are the same. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's not going to work on one of my projects. If they come along like that, or they say, hey, this is the way we build houses in Texas. No, it's about the blueprints. And I believe that God put it in the blueprints in the Bible in very specific detail. So this story, I followed it in exact detail what this woman did. And it says that first of all, she heard about the good news that she could get a miracle. And then she actually did something. If you just pray over blueprints, if you just have these blueprints and you pray over them and you say, you know what? I prayed over them. I'm just going to pray over the blueprints. And you don't do nothing else. Guess what happened? You get nothing. You won't get a house. How about if you pray for someone like Andres or someone like that to come along and build a house for me? I can maybe even fast, but I got a feeling that it's just not going to happen. So again, this woman took steps. She actually went and made steps and went towards getting that miracle. She knew, she studied the whole situation like I studied this situation. And I said, you know what, I'm going to get the same results as her. Because I found out that it says in the blueprints, I found out in one area where in Mark 9:23, it says, all things are possible to those that believe. So what does all things mean? Well, all things mean all things. I mean, if the blueprints say one thing about the footing, I'm not going to argue with, I'm going to do exactly what it says. And so I believe that God's an intelligent being and that he knows how to put exact detail. So that's what I did. I actually believed, and I started studying this story and some other stories in the Bible, and I believed if I did exactly that I would get the same results. So I actually was at a job site, and I told the workers, it was actually, everyone remembers that day. A lot of people were there. Leonard was there, Hector was there, my brother was there, and I told them, guys, this is my day. I was listening to one of these stories over and over, and I said, this is my day. I know I'm going to go, and I'm going to get healed today. And so they just kind of laughed. But I did. I actually went to a meeting, and I said to myself, when I go to this meeting, to this prayer meeting, it was a meeting of some doctors at Stanford that think outside the box. They get together, and they're actually into natural remedies, and they're into prayer and meditation. So I actually went there, and it was that meeting that very day I went there, and I told them, like this woman right here in the story, she says, I'm going to go, and I know I'm going to get healed. Well, I told the guys that, so I went to the meeting, and I got exactly what I said. But I didn't feel anything. You can't go by feeling. This story right here does not talk at all about going by feelings or how you feel. It talks about doing. Like it says in Hebrews 11, it says, now faith is the substance. Now, when you take the plans, when you take the blueprints, and you take the first step to prepare that soil for the foundation, and you mark it off, that's when it starts. But you have to take the first steps. Also, a lot of people miss that. But this story illustrates the point where this woman was pursuing, she was actually doing something, and she did it. And what happened is when she was there and she got her miracle, like I was there and I got my miracle, they couldn't even tell in the beginning, but she was asked, who touched me? That was actually Jesus who asked. All these people were there. They were all there at that time wanting a miracle. The crowd was so huge, just like the meeting that I went to. There were a lot of people there. And that meeting in this story right here, there were so many people that were there. And they wanted a miracle that maybe they needed to be healed of leprosy, or maybe they needed to be healed of arthritis and different diseases. A lot of the same diseases existed back then. Leprosy was a horrible, horrible disease. And it talks about how some lepers were healed and some weren't. Well, anyways, she was and the others weren't. There was only one woman there that was healed because she had faith. Well, how do you get this kind of faith? The faith comes by studying the blueprints. The more you study the blueprints on a project, the more confident that you'll be that can be done. And the more you study this right here, it says in 10:17, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by more information that you get. So I started to get more and more faith, and I knew that day was arrived, just like the story with this woman. And I went there, and only she got better. Jesus turned around and said, who has taken this from me? I felt like someone took some power from me at that stage. And she came and said, it was me, Lord. And she fell down, and he said, woman, he said one main thing. He said, woman, your faith has made you whole. And that's exactly what it's spelled out in Mark 11:5. Mark 5. He said, it says, woman, your faith has made you whole. You've gotten better as a result of your faith. So that's what happened to me. So again, this was one of my first videos. I've done a lot of videos, other videos on business and dancing and stuff like that. I got a lot of videos, and they're flawless because I've been practicing for a long time. This is one of the first times where I'm like sharing my story in detail. But I just feel like I have to do it. I feel like I found a way to win the lotto, and I just want to share with others about how they can do the same by taking these steps. You can build it from the foundation up, but by taking these steps, you get the same results. If you do the same thing, you get the same results, and it's very clear. There's a lot of stories like that. I just shared one. There's so many others. There's Peter who walked on water. There's Daniel in the lion's den. There's so many other stories, but I just picked one right there that I shared of how it impacted my life and the results that I got. So it's really up to you to take the blueprints and do it yourself. So that's my story. You hear from my heart, and like I said, I just spoke from my heart, and this is like not edited or anything. It's just straight through. And so we'll see how this goes. It's my heart and my prayer that there'll be others that will get miracles. We've had a lot of issues and friends that have suffered under different diseases and things like that. We've had a lot of deaths amongst friends and even in family. And so it's my heart's yearning and my desire. My agenda, they will say, hey, Tony, what are you trying to do? What do you want? Well, my only want and desire is that others will get the same kind of miracle and breakthrough as well. And that's my only agenda. And there'll be others that will get blessed and healed and excited, like me as well, and like me, I try to control myself, and I'll think of better ways to express this. But I'm kind of like the guy who won the power lotto. If he was to come into this room, I'm sure he'd be like hanging off the walls and stuff like that. And that's kind of the way I am. And so I'm learning to express it and explain it better by I just share my story. And that's my heart's desire. There'll be others who get the same kind of miracle. So thank you very much, and you guys have a good one.